Hello, welcome to One's the Force the Stars podcast. My name's Phil, of course. I'm joined as usual by Dave and George for our Clone Wars breakdown. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello there.
Good evening.
And again, for once, I think a positive episode all around. I know, George, you're a little on this one. I know Dave and I especially have got some good things to say about this one, but again, solid episode. Happy and can't wait to talk about it. So before we crack into the whole story and everything, we'll talk about the beards, of course. Mine is now getting much, much longer, and George's, I think, appearing. It's got a shadow now.
It's
all good.
Vaguely emerging to some people's eyes. It's I'm very curious still about what may happen over the next few months.
For those of you in the audio version, nothing has really changed. You won't be able to see anything. It's fine. But yes, talk about this episode in D. So this is episode 7 now. So again, getting towards the end of this stretch. We've got her out for next week. Happy to talk about this. Just general thoughts before we go into details. Dave.
I love this episode, and I kind of get why you wouldn't. It doesn't move us much further in the story, and it gives us a plot point that we were kind of hoping we'd get. That's going to lead us into our finale of episodes, which is kind of nice that we get that. But no, I really enjoyed Ahsoka in this. I actually really enjoyed the interplay between her and the sisters. I loved the Force use she had. Yeah, for me, I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah. George?
I'm quite mixed. I've only seen them once, and I keep saying this every week. I will rewatch them all at some point. Probably before episode 12, I think I'm going to just do a day where I just go with all of them. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into full details because it's a lot fairer to explain as we go along. Because I think there's some really, really good scenes. There's one scene particularly which is one of the strongest scenes of any Clone Wars episode across all 7 seasons. There's some brilliant stuff that sets them up. My main issue is the overall story. Like I said last week, that out of nowhere, this has become a story that I'm really invested in. I think it was the same. Everyone last week caught us off guard in a really good way. And obviously, it finished them in jail. My biggest concern, jumping right into the ending, but not saving the discussion for ending now, is this episode finishes exactly where it started. It's unfair to just leave it there, so we'll talk about it in a bit. But that was my overall frustration. There's some great stuff in there, but it's more the end point. Just you could, in theory, delete this episode and it not potentially affect the final one. Obviously, we know it will because there's story elements and whatnot. But that's my main concern is the ending bit. But like I said, there was some of my favorite stuff off Clone Wars was in this. Really strong stories are coming, character moments. I think that's what I should have said.
Yeah, no, agreed. Jumping to the end, it does finish how it begins, which is, as you said, a little disconcerting. Is you do want progression, but the character progression within that is really unfair to say this doesn't go anywhere. It's by the end of it, you have the characters are in the same physical place, but emotionally and development-wise, they are in a different place. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or not, we'll talk about as we go forward. But my thoughts on this one, on a whole, very strong episode. I do wish again a bit further forward, but there are points that we are going to get to, especially one moment that all three of us just went, yes, just give us this. The one that little image we'll get to later that Dave put on the screen before we went live, and yes, all of the yes. So yeah, going into the details of this episode again, of course, we find them, of course, in prison on, I want to say, it's not Obadiah, it's Obadiah, that's it. It's different pronunciation, but Obadiah Staines in this one. No, they're on Obadiah, they're in prison, and of course, they want to try and break out. However, of course, at the start, you then get Rafa get taken off to be tortured, which is something that in the Clone Wars you don't really see much of or expect, unless it's a Jedi interrogation, which then you have the counterplay between the way Obi-Wan or Plo Koon or Mace Windu goes about it, and of course how Anakin goes about it. Like I say, your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. He was talking about mind tricks when he then goes and beats the snot out of Poggle the Lesser. This is, of course, completely different, and it's dark.
Yeah, this is like Return of the Jedi. Like, what was hell for the droids was C-3PO and R2-D2's guided tour of the droid terror room. And to this day, the age of 23, 20 years after watching these films for the first time, when that little gonk droid starts screaming no and wiggles his feet and he starts screaming, that's just always concerned me in a way that shouldn't. And that's what I find really interesting about this. So it was nice seeing that it's not really a throwback But it was that we've had this happen before, but seeing this in Clone Wars form, and I think it was nice because one of my strongest sort of things I loved episode 7 was also the Kylo Ren torture scenes, and very reminiscent because it's not really something Star Wars has ventured into much over the years. You mentioned the Clone Wars stuff with Pog the Lesser, one of the best Anakin moments of the 7 seasons as well. They kind of save these for these really sort of intense moments, and I think it delivered on that.
I think the only time we've seen anybody tortured like that was 3PO in the episode where he goes wandering off when they think he's got the plans and Cad Bane tortures him. Very reminiscent of that, but we've never seen an actual person get strapped to something and really, really...
That's the difference, though, in this. It's the difference between seeing a droid go through it and seeing a person go through it. A droid is a piece of machinery. We don't connect to it emotionally as human beings. Seeing a human, especially, not even just a humanoid, but a human go through that, that's the difference here emotionally.
And it was nice. I think it moved the character because obviously with Rafa, she's been sort of the protagonist against Ahsoka, kind of pushing it up. And I think it was nice that we got that moment she was taken away, she was tortured. It kind of gave her a different bit of sense about what was going on, and that I think she realized obviously the mistakes that had now been made with this mission. And it also then gave us an excellent character. I don't know if it's while she's away that her sister tells Ahsoka the story of how they lost their parents. And for me, one of the standout moments of this was taking this story back to season 1 of the Clone Wars, like the climax of Clone Wars season 1, where Cad Bane is helping Zero escape. We don't see what happens.
No, just before that, it's because Rafa then gets taken away just after because Ahsoka goes, "What if I'm a Jedi? What if I'm a Jedi?"
So,
and then they go into this.
To bring it right back to season 1 of Clone Wars, that we didn't see this happen, but we know the point with Zero and Cad Bane, so we know where it was going. This is then expanded on that, and the bit I loved about it was that they talk about the Jedi who came up and said, "Don't worry, we're kind of you'll get past it." And I think it's said it was a green skin, so I'm guessing it's
Luminara. I think
Luminara. Yeah,
Luminara. This is what made me question it because there's two. I thought Luminara because it was more the vague, may the Force be with you. Force, this is the Force, and then cheerio, see you in a bit.
Yeah,
Part of me thought like Kit Fisto, like Kid Smile After, but I thought that'd just be a bit too dark.
She specified it was a female, so it would have to.
That's fine.
Plus, you just see Kid Fisto giving that massive smile as he walked away as well, and she's like, "Hey!"
I mean, it could be Stacey Tin. There are a couple of green-skinned Jedi.
Yaddle. It was obviously Yaddle.
Yaddle died.
Yeah.
They hunted it down. Never saw it.
But no, I thought that was just that for me. That was the first major moment where we got callback to previous Clone Wars history, and I really, really loved that.
It shows the impact of the war. It's the impact you don't see. It's the everyday lives.
The strongest thing Clone Wars has done is not make the Jedi sort of bad. Obviously, people moan about episode, look what you did to the Jedi, you made them not Jedi. I was like, well, actually, retrace your steps to the prequels. The Jedi were naive. They were dumb. They didn't trust Anakin. And they had the guy, as Luke says, Darth Sidious was controlling the entire galaxy. No one noticed how the Jedi that was. And you had that vibe again that it's this kind of not bias, not favoritism, but it's almost this sort of blindness of their actions that we're so up there in our crystal ball. And this is what the episode did so well, making them be lower level Coruscant. It was that they had these sort of high and mighty people that the whole world thinks are incredible come down, accidentally kill their parents, and then it's this is the Force wills it, a Force quote, and like what? And then they're gone, and that was it, never again. And it does make you think that, when what happened, it's easy for people to turn on them, and you can totally understand why. And what was nice, we've had a couple of throwbacks in Clone Wars. Most of the time, it's been either chronologically done wrong, or it's been far too intentional, i.e. like Clovis recurring character. But this one-off moment, creating new people out of nowhere, and tying it into a season 1 episode was like, whoa, like that. I remember. I mean, as someone that rewatched them was like, yeah, I remember. I don't remember the plane bit, but I do remember mainly the arc of Cad Bane, Coruscant. It's the first mission of Coruscant. I think, is this going to be the King Kong episode with the
Zilla Beast?
Yeah, and I thought it'd be a bit too easy. All these locals have died, but going to this precise moment the Jedi were involved, I just thought it made that so much better. And I just thought that hit me out of nowhere. I did not expect that at all from this arc.
Yeah, but it's also the moment where they went, yes, they saved a bunch of people, but our parents still died, and they just left us. There's no care. There's no. They just went. They're so high and mighty that afterwards they went, okay, you're good. We've got other stuff to deal with. You're just too small. And it's that kind of, again, looking up at them from the lower levels of where we don't respect the Jedi. We don't care about the Jedi down here. We're happier for it.
It tells a really good story that you now can see how easy it would have been for Palpatine to turn the Jedi into the bad guys, and it wouldn't have taken much persuasion at all. You kind of, through the movies, you see the Jedi as this higher group and they're out for the greater good, but few and far between people would have thought that. So yeah. Palpatine would have had no issues at all with turning Coruscant against them.
The other part of it is, of course, there are only 10,000 Jedi in the galaxy. 10,000 sounds like a lot, but when you're on a planet of several billion, let alone the galaxy, that's one in every something trillion. It's ridiculous. You're hardly ever going to see one. Even if you see a Clone Wars battlefield, it's not even likely you're going to see a Jedi as well. You're going to see more likely see clones and droids. So it's easier then to interwave. So the Jedi have turned against you when there's no proof they were ever for you in the first place. So it's very easy to. It's all these little plot points that it does, and this is Dave Filoni at his best. This writing is one scene that allows you to see both how Sidious could do it, how the Jedi were so naive, and how it affects normal people in the space of 3 minutes. I mean, it's incredible.
It's like what we always say about the clones, that the one thing the Clone Wars has done, which has made the prequels, not just the films, but the era better, is you've got point of view from different people. You've got the clones throughout most of the series. We aren't just a faceless army, we are individuals. And I feel like we have that again in this moment with just the citizen, even when it's the Barra Sophia arc, when there was that woman who she killed, whose husband was involved with it all. Even that was my husband loved the Jedi, he worshipped them, he worked there, hardest to get a job there. And it's these viewpoints that the films don't allow you to have, and that's not criticism of the films at all. The films don't have time for people to get the opinions of others, and it just builds and builds to what we know is going to be a monumental failure for the Jedi. It's not really monumental failure, is it? They're wiped out. But it just builds up to it even more.
No, and of course, then moving on from that, from the torture scene as well, because that's the thing. Go back to the actual torture itself. It's that whole kind of that very callous approach to it. Of, we don't care about your pain, we just care about where our spice is. That's all we ever want with the information we're after. Of course, after she gets taken back, she gets thrown into the cell. Ahsoka gets beaten as well. Trace manages to piss them off enough that she again gets taken and tortured. They know that she doesn't really know as much as the others. Of course, they don't really think about what happened to the spice, that she dumped it. They just go, where is it? Your sister knows more than you because she's the one that did the job. So they're just torturing her because they can, not because they think necessarily that she's useful, which again is just harrowing.
And it gives us the next sort of nice moment where then, while Rafa's sort of out of it, we get Ahsoka using the Force again and she does it a few times this episode where she really uses her Force powers to aid their escape. But this one to open the actual cell and to also then, obviously they release other prisoners, but that was the younger sister. I can never remember her name. Rafa's in my head, but I can't remember the
Trace.
So yeah, and they let other prisoners out. But again, it's this nice progression of Ahsoka removing herself from the Jedi, but now slowly and surely starting to use her Force powers again and realizing how much she needs to use them and how helpful they can be to whoever she's with.
Well, it's using them, but using them in a way that only benefits, but also doesn't interfere too much with the outside world. She's just doing it here and there, so she doesn't get caught. She doesn't want people thinking that she's a Jedi. She, of course, I think she was about to reveal that she was a Jedi before the story, and again, it's her going, this is why I left the Order, because they don't care, because that's just reaffirming her own beliefs of why she left. So, of course, when she does then open the door, she goes, oh, there was just a power outage. I don't think that Rafa quite believes it, but at least it gives her that out of, okay, whatever, we got a break, we're done, let's just go. She hasn't got time to think about it. She still doesn't trust her, but she goes, okay, that's fine, let's just get the hell out of here. At this point, though, you then see with Trace, you just see a different side, because at that point, she's about to be tortured, but she fights her way out of it. she manages to steal a gun, just blast her way out of it, which is what I didn't expect from that character. If anything, I expect Rafa to fight her way out of it and Chase to be the vulnerable one, but actually it's kind of the other way around.
She goes on quite the murderous rampage.
She just freeload the prisoners.
Yeah, literally just shoots our way out of that place.
Proper vintage callbacks as well, especially with Hammerhead in the blue kind of like mankini. It's like literally it's completely vintage Kenner in
Have
that
you
prison
seen?
cell.
I don't think we discussed it. I can't remember if we did, so apologies for short memory. Last week in the episode, there were some vintage Kenner figures on a
spear. I think it's.
I don't remember if we discussed it or if it was just.
No, we didn't know, but I think it's a Greedo, a Hammerhead, and something else. Snaggletooth,
yeah.
I think.
And I was wondering, like, if each week they just kind of like keep chucking some sort of more like vintage figures in there. Then I guess Order 66 is just a new Joe.
Well, of course, well, to be fair, in this episode though, you do then get Snaggletooth, Hammerhead, and Weequay in, I would say, live action in animated form because they're actually moving about. Of course, help them cause a distraction enough to escape. And of course, then by the time they then get out of the cell, then they have the whole new problem of, okay, how do we get off-world? And that plays between the two of them. And it's just, again, absolutely fascinating journey of how they're going to get the ship back. Chase is still going, right, just get my ship, get off this planet. Need to get away from here, get it all done with. And of course, Rafa's going, well, no. If I live, I'll buy you a new ship. Let's just get any ship and get out of here. And again, Ahsoka has to be that tiebreaker between them. Go, let's just do what we can.
And Ahsoka went into total badass mode, trying to get them out of there on a little mission up to release everything. And she was just absolutely in that room full of pikes and just took, again, no prisoners. She was really calling back to her old persona, who she was before. I thought this episode was a really nice Ahsoka themed episode. It really showed her off to the point where all I needed to do was pull out some kind of stick to fight with that would have been like sabers, but she was absolutely epic in this episode.
I think it's all built. I mean, we know what it's building up to, but this episode itself, all these scenes with Ahsoka and the girls and the sisters, it's all building up to this finale of this one arc too. And I think there's going to be a big reveal, and I'm going to continue my prediction of some deaths to come. But I think the big moment was just after this scene when they're all kind of hiding and the drunk man comes up to them and asks for credits. I was like, this isn't good. And I know I'm jumping ahead slightly, but then we get the sister standing, not sort of in like a mocking way, but in the middle of the open. The one thing is almost when Han Solo walks onto that bridge, you know, I know what's coming next. It's the classic moments of she stands up for the world to see on like a podium, looking down at the others, and then obviously the camera cuts to the drunk person telling the Pikes, "Oh, there they are." And I was literally 300%, 400% ready that we're about to get some really disturbing sniper shot, bullet, or something to the sister. And I'm not criticizing it for not doing it. Don't make it sound like that. You know, you've seen something 100 times, you just expect it to carry on.
Yeah.
I thought we were having that moment, but we weren't, which kind of surprised me, but then didn't surprise me. I don't know, that was just me that had that.
No, absolutely. When she was on her own, it very much felt like we were going to lose Rafa at that point. And it would have made sense for the story as well. But I guess they have a further part to tell to this that's going to, I think, lead us directly into the final four. But I really do feel like, if we'd lost Rafa at this point, it would have pushed the story a bit further along than where we did end up back, just the three of them in the jail cell. I think it would have meant a bit more for me. But no, I was with you, George. I thought we were going to lose her at that point.
Yep, and let's make it 3 for 3 because I did think that she would go. I wasn't 100% sure. In my head, it was a 50-50. Either she'll live or she'll die. But I was looking at that. This is if you're gonna kill her, this is the moment you're gonna do it in. But before we get to the end, and whilst they are running around being chased by the Pikes, we might want to talk about this little scene here, because this does pop up just before that. And of course, because Ahsoka's running along before they get to the drunk person who's asking for credits, she does bump into Bo-Katan, as we saw from the trailer. And, well, at least what we assume is going to be Bo-Katan. Because again, it cuts the rooftop where they're going, and she does say, this is the Jedi I think I met on, I can't remember the name of the planet, here we go with a K, can't off the top of my head. So again, that's confirming who we think it is. It could be Bo-Katan, and gives us our out for next week. This is what gives us our out for getting to Mandalore.
Well, this is the scene I'd mentioned last week that I thought we were going to be back on Coruscant when she bumped into her, but obviously it was on this planet here. And yeah, it's absolutely Bo-Katan. But more interesting than that, I think, not just it being Bo-Katan, but standing to her left is Ursa Wren, which has been confirmed. So that is Sabine's mother, stood by the side.
I was not aware of that.
On the left-hand side.
Yes, I
thought it was the armor for the Mandalorian.
I thought that as well when she spoke, but yeah. It's been confirmed. If you're watching on live, we do on YouTube. We do have the picture up of it. The three stood together. But yeah, the middle one is Bo-Katan. On the left-hand side of her is Sabine's mom, Ursa Wren.
I mean, it makes sense for her to be in this, given that obviously Rebels, where we know that Kanan's going to get a little cameo in holographic form at some point. We obviously know a couple of things going to get tied up here and there. I just thought, I mean, because we know that Mandalorian's Death Watch now. I don't think we're going to get any form of reference to him. I think it's too soon. These episodes were done way before. I mean, I know that Dave Filoni just the Mandalorian, but I know these episodes were probably done way before they started filming Mandalorian season 1. But if there was going to be like a little cameo, I just thought it'd be the Armorer, because I know that if she's in his clan, then that might be some remnants of Death Watch. But it's also because we don't see many Mandalorian women. It's just the kind of posh British voice. I thought, oh, it's her. It's the Armorer. Apparently not, but I'm very intrigued now about Sabine's mum.
That is, yeah. Well, you're thinking about it as well. It's the first animated character to come from Rebels to now go back over to Clone Wars as well. So it's really nice that they're actually tying these together so well, and they're all part of this. Obviously, they're part of the same universe, but now in that same animated vein, it makes it so much nicer to have that come across well. That was a really nice moment. I didn't know at first when I watched the episode that it was her, but it was confirmed later on online that it was.
And it's not criticism of Rebels, but that was one thing that when Rebels was live, when it was airing weekly, that's what would throw me, like another Clone Wars character.
Yeah.
And obviously, because we knew at the time Clone Wars was done, it wasn't coming back, we're going to tie up the Clone Wars characters in Rebels. The issue with that is it left a hole for Clone Wars. Like, okay, so, it's not coming back, but all these people were around during this time. Like Saw Gerrera, he got tied up in Rogue One, and, has been in Jedi Fallen Order, done very well for himself. It's nice that we're now we've had Rebels is done, and we can now dip into Clone Wars to finish in. Doesn't need to be important, doesn't need to draw attention to them, but this is that, and that's them, and you're going to see them in 20 years' time, because on a continuity watch, that's going to make a lot of difference now for when Sabine starts talking about her history of Mandalore.
Sabine, and she should be, from the timeline, Sabine should be there. She's alive, she's around as well now, so don't think she'll be very old, but she's around about the same age of Ezra. Is she not about yet?
She's a couple of years older than Ezra.
Exactly. She won't be alive. She's the same age as Ezra. So
this is only a couple of this is a month or two before he's born. So she's probably like a baby at this point.
Yeah, we're not far from Empire Day. Yeah, I was going to say so.
Yeah,
very intriguing.
She'll be.
If she's around, she's a toddler.
As long as we don't get a really bad reference like in the Hobbit, like that's my son. Ah, yes, the ugly one. Like, yes, wink, wink. We know it's Gimli. As long as we don't get that, like, here's my toddler. I don't care. Like Anakin.
No, I don't think you'll get that reference. I don't think you'll get the reference at all. I don't think it's needed, but we'll see. But as I said, it does give us our out for next week. What then makes me curious is that, of course, so the episode ends up with them being back in jail. Of course, the Pikes draw them out. They draw out Ahsoka. They then get them trapped, and eventually, of course, they end up back in jail. They end up back where they started. So the characters are emotionally further along than they were at the start, but now they are back physically where they were before. What we now know, of course, is Bo-Katan's there. So this gives them the out of breaking them out of jail. She can then go, well, I can't take you to Coruscant, but I am going back to Mandalore, and that's your out. So what that does mean, though, it does leave 4 episodes at the end, but this will give us a half episode where we can start that Siege of Mandalore, and it gives us a half episode attached at the end to tie up Order 66. It does give us a little bit of leeway.
I don't think it's going to give us too much leeway. I think it's a nice way of breaking Ahsoka in for the journey, but we've also now got 2 supporting characters who definitely will not be on that journey with her. They might be, but But I don't see them two sisters going all the way to Mandalore, and if they do, surviving. So I think we're going to lose one of them next week minimum. You're bang on. I thought this. The Mandalorian's going to break him out of jail, because going back to where we started, it's very risky, especially when you've had that week's gap. And I'm not saying just because they're in prison it makes it risky, but like we had them great character scenes, and then after that I just struggled with it. And I think that's the issue, is because we know we've now gone back to prison, it feels like this 2-hour chase was unwarranted, except for the one shot we got to see, not the characters, but we got to see of Bo-Katan. So I think it's just an open door for them to go down that avenue, which I'm fine with. But I'm very curious, because I think there's still quite a bit for them to do now in the next 20 minutes, because they can't just break out, run away, and get into a speed, because that's what we've just spent this 20 minutes doing. So there's going to have to be, I think, a direct confrontation or something along those lines now, that we need to fully close this arc with these characters to then get us to Mandalore.
They can move. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that it will be the Mandalorians who break Ahsoka and the sisters out. You do right. You need a conclusion of that sister story. They can't just say, right, Ahsoka, you'll come with us, and just leave them to one side and they'll carry on their missions. They're not going to do that.
No, what they'll probably do is go break them out and go, right, you have a choice. You can either come with us, or here's a Silver Angel. You can go back to Coruscant. And that's how they'll leave them. Or one of them will die and then go, you can either come with us to Mandalore, or you can go back home. And depending which one's which, they'll go, well, if it's Trace, there's like, she goes, there's no, I don't want the family business. There's no home for me to go back to. I want to join you. I want to do something, make a difference. If it's Rafa, she'll go, no, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm going to go back to Coruscant. Either way, it provides an out. If one of them dies, you have two different avenues the characters can go down, that I at least see anyway.
Is Ahsoka going to bring back PTSD, and her final line of dialogue will be, may the Force be with you? And they're just going to be there on that ship like, you horrible person, as they just brought back memories of season 1.
Could well be.
Just going to stand doing a Zero impression. Just get a New Orleans accent on, and it's going to be an awful mess. But no, I'm really looking forward. I think it's going to be nice that we've got the Mandalorians introduced now, and they're not just going to turn up at the very end of the next episode, or not until we'd started the final 4, like turn at the beginning of the last episode 8 or whatever it'll be, 9. So I think it'll be really nice that they're going to break her out, and that we'll get that continuation story. But like it will kind of bleed into. So it was all one arc. Certainly from this story, this is really where I would say the final arc is starting, because the Mandalorians have shown up, and that is where we're going to take our focus. But I can't wait for them to finalize this story, get the sister bit done, finish with them, get us to Mandalore, get us to Order 66. This is going to be, it's going to be quite the finish.
And Sam Witwer did a tweet yesterday. Well, he did 2. First of all, he showed an article about how amazing it is that Ray Park's come back, and Sam Witwer was saying that this is by far the best thing that's happened to the Clone Wars final season. And then someone sent him a tweet saying, should I watch it weekly or should I wait? And Sam Witwer said you should just wait the 4 weeks and watch it as a film, which got me very excited. Not that we're going to do that, but I'm excited that he's excited.
Yeah, we can't do that. If we do, spoilers are plenty. We won't be relevant, and no, just can't be done.
You won't be able to avoid it.
No,
it'll be all over as soon as it's out on Friday,
and
when it's
do you
live.
think we can really help ourselves? That's more the question. Do we really think we can help ourselves? No.
Disney Plus catches up in Europe next week. We get
it does indeed. Yes.
Goodbye VPN. Hello live.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's bank holiday on Friday.
Hey. Oh, I just can't wait for us to get to this, and the fact that some of the actors, like Sam Witwer, is a massive fan of this. For him to be excited for us to see what's going to happen in these final episodes, just makes it all the better. It really does.
Yeah, now I'm interested to see where this goes and how they tie it in next week. It's going to be very good. For sure.
My wild prediction is that the lightsaber duel will be episode 3 of Mandalore, not episode 4. I know this is a few weeks too early to predict this, but I'm just closing on that thought before I forget.
Yeah, no, I
could go with that.
With you on that one. Because I think that episode 4 will be
an epilogue of Order 66.
Yeah, pretty much. Because episode 3 will be your pseudo finale, basically, because they need that. At least even if they do it very cheesily, which I hope they don't, they can't cheapen that moment. But if they do end it on Obi-Wan and Anakin going off to Coruscant, you need to have that as your big moment of it. You can't have a big lightsaber duel between Maul and Ahsoka where you know both will survive, and then have that moment. No, I think you need that in episode 3. That is the only issue I have going into that duel, knowing both of them will live.
Hey, it's a different Anakin and Obi-Wan though. We all knew he'd turn into Darth Vader.
I just can't wait to see how they are gonna play this out. You're right. I think as well we'll get that scene of the battle and their duel will be episode 3. We'll then get the playoff of after Order 66 has happened and the clones have turned. Will be the final episode, and then we will get some kind of prologue finish like we did at the end of Rebels, where we got that little beat of story that kind of explained what had happened since. Obviously, we don't need as much. Rebels is kind of the next stage of this story, but I think we will still get this has happened, that's happened, and we're here. Move on to the next thing.
Definitely. Yeah, no, completely agree. But I think that's about. I know that there's a lot to say in this episode for sure, but I think we've done it nice and concise. I'm not sure there's anything much else to say, really, guys.
I don't have too much else. I'm looking forward to episode 4.
That, again for me as well. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story so far. I didn't think I would after the first episode of this arc. I wasn't keen on the sister characters, but really growing to like them as well. Looking forward to seeing how they close it out, but really looking forward to the week after and we start the final 4 episodes. Yeah,
so I wasn't keen for the first part. By now, I'm very invested and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they go about ending it. So I don't think it'll be all of next week. I think the first 15 minutes will be that. The last 5 will be the first 5 minutes of the Siege of Mandalore, then getting to Mandalore. However that happens, or whatever Ahsoka does, that'll be whatever happens there. But I think that'll be the end of it. However, very much looking forward to seeing how they wrap up these characters and seeing potentially who will die. Because I do think one of them will die. It'll lead the other ones to either go back to Coruscant or go to Mandalore or do something along those lines. We know that's coming. But yes, no, I think that's about it. So that's it from you guys. Yeah.
All good.
Fantastic. So it's been a cracking episode and a lot to say. Not much to try and fill out on this one. I can't wait for next week. So all that's left to say is thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at One Stars Podcast at Force Podcast. You can find the video for this on our YouTube and Facebook pages, and the audio will be available at all of your usual providers on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. Our merchandise can be found in the description down below. And until next time, we be one to the Force. May the Force stars be with you. Good night.